You probably heard at some point that to play guitar well and to play guitar fast, you need to control tension throughout your body, right? We've all heard this. And while this advice is generally very, very good and useful, after it's repeated enough times and oversimplified enough, many guitar players turn tension into this boogeyman where they become afraid to do so many things on guitar that are completely normal, that are within the scope of normal levels of tension you use to play guitar, and because of that, their progress slows way down. And here's the part that blows most people's minds. When it comes to playing guitar fast and building speed, it actually takes quite a bit more, not less, but more tension to do that than most people ever realize, especially in your picking hand. Take a look here. This is Rusty Cooley, one of the fastest pickers, if not the fastest picker alive today, and pay attention to his picking hand. Notice the fingers that are not holding the pick. Do they look relaxed to you? They don't look relaxed to me. They certainly don't look as relaxed as they did a second ago when Rusty was explaining something before he started playing. Now take a look here. This is the great Paul Gilbert, and this is his famous claw-looking picking hand. Now everybody knows Paul Gilbert is insanely fast, but how in the world is he able to play as fast as he does with a picking hand that looks as tense as his hand does? I don't care how you slice it or how you try to justify it. When a picking hand looks like this, with the fingers curled as Paul Gilbert's hand is, there's no way this is a relaxed picking hand. But nonetheless, Paul is a great player. He plays amazingly well. So what is going on here? I'm going to answer that question a little bit later on in this video, but first, let's go back to another clip of Paul Gilbert and let's zoom out away from his picking hand and let's take a look at the rest of his body. Notice how relaxed his shoulders are. Notice how easy it is for him to switch between rhythm guitar strumming and fast lead playing, how effortlessly he moves across positions with his fretting hand. And it's not just Paul Gilbert. You can look at John Petrucci, does the same thing. His body looks relaxed, even though his picking hand uses quite a bit more tension than you would think is normal to play fast. Go down the list, pick any famous fast player you want, it still looks pretty much the same. So first things first, there's no such thing as playing guitar with zero tension. That does not exist. I'm sitting here right now and I'm not even playing any notes. But guess what? I'm not totally relaxed. I'm using some tension in my back muscles to even hold my back upright. If I was to slouch like this, I'd be a little bit more relaxed than I was a second ago, but it's not how I sit, right? So I'm going to use a little bit of tension in my back to sit upright, but even with that level of tension, I could still play guitar fast if I wanted to. That's not a problem, so that level of tension is not slowing me down. All this leads me to another big idea relating to tension, which is the parts of your body that are not being used to play guitar should be kept as relaxed as possible. Those are the areas of your body where you should be as close to zero tension, or at least as close as you can realistically get to given your sitting or standing position. Now let's get back to the tense looking picking hand. What's going on here? We've already established that you can't be relaxed all the time and you can't be fully relaxed in the picking hand because then your hand would look like a limp noodle and it will be impossible for you to have any kind of control as far as muting string noise or getting articulation going that you want or any of that. You also need to be able to project enough power to the string so even when you play completely unplugged with no amp volume whatsoever, the notes should still sound clean, clear, and articulate and should feel satisfying to play, like this. Now, how do you get to be able to do that? Well, that's where the slightly tense-looking picking hand of someone like Rusty or Paul Gilbert can help you out. You see, when you play any note, to state the really obvious thing, but I'm going to tie this into something a little bit more complex in a second, after you do, say, a downstroke, you need something to stop the momentum of the pick so the hand doesn't continue traveling really far that way towards the floor away from the next note. And then, assuming you need to do an upstroke right after the downstroke, you're going to need to change directions as well. So you need the braking muscle and you need the change direction muscle. So that is where the need for extra tension comes from. And no matter if you're using the wrist or the forearm or some combination of both as the braking muscle or the muscle that helps you to change directions of the pick for each pick stroke, it's also important that you relax whatever tension you use to pick the note that was just played. This is called relaxing in between notes. And this ability to relax between notes is what gives you the ability to play a whole bunch of notes at higher speeds and not feel like you're becoming progressively more tense as you play through a fast run. And the irony of the whole situation is, if you want the relaxation between notes to not only happen, but to happen quickly and in a controlled way, then your brake muscles, which are going to be the fingers not holding the pick, or the forearm muscles, to be in a state of what I call perpetual readiness. This is where they're not totally relaxed. I mean, if this is 100% of tension, making a really tight fist, this is maybe like 15% or so. Of course, I'm making up approximate numbers here. The point is, they're not at zero, but they're also nowhere near 100%. But that that state of readiness is what allows the change of directions to happen quickly, and after the brake muscles do their job, you're able to stay in a very low overall level of tension, which is what allows you to continue to play fast and not have the tension balloon out of control. So as you should hopefully realize by now, tension is not black and white. It's not binary where all tension is good or all tension is bad. It all depends on the situation. It's all relative. So that means both good news and bad news for you. The good news is, if there have been some techniques or licks that you've been afraid to try because it felt like you were using too much tension and you felt like that tension was going to create bad habits, don't worry about it. Learn the licks, learn the techniques anyway. I give you permission to do it. And then chances are some of that tension is either unavoidable or necessary, but even if there is some extra tension in there, learn the licks first and then refine your technique and relax any extra tension that may be unnecessary. Now, the bad news is, if and when you do discover some extra tension, you're going to need to do some thinking about, okay, how much of this tension is actually necessary? How much of it is holding me back? And where do I need to relax it? And then how do I need to relax it? You're going to need to either figure this out on your own or have somebody coach you through this process. And by the way, this is something I do for my students inside my rapid fire guitar practice training program. But you don't have to do this with me. You can do this on your own. You can do this with somebody else. Doesn't matter to me. I'm saying you have to go through this process in some way, shape, or form if you want the results of playing guitar with optimum tension throughout your body. That being said, if you want some more free help from me on how to build your guitar speed, check out the link in the description of this video or go to the page on the screen right now. I'm going to show you a free 1-hour masterclass called Guitar Speed Formula. What it is a way to practice to build speed without having to do any slow practice whatsoever. That's right, you won't have to start slow and gradually build speed in small increments, because that way of practicing is pretty damn boring, and more importantly, it doesn't work as well as most people tell you that it does. So if you want to know what it's all about, check out that link, enter your email address, I'll send you the video for free. And besides relaxing excessive muscle tension, one of the other skills you need to play guitar really fast is two-hand synchronization. And I've got a video right here that shows you some of my best drills for doing that. I highly recommend you watch it next.